I'm not going to beat around the bush. Today we're talking about hybrid filters for your GoPro Hero 9 Hybrid. It's an ND filter and a polarizer filter. Put your hands together, you've got a hybrid filter. Now, the filters we're talking about today are by Freewell, and I suggest you always buy the best filter you can. Mainly for the reason that it goes in front of your lens, and it's the first thing light hits before it goes through your lens and hits your sensor. If you have a cheap, bad filter, where it's soft, where the quality is bad, you're not going to fix that in post. It's going to be bad all the time. So spend money on excellent glass. And Freewell has outstandingly good glass, so I stand by them. An ND filter. What's it for? Well, an ND filter is a filter that's a little bit darker, and it limits the amount of light getting through the filter, through the lens, into your camera. What's that for? Well, there's something called the 180-degree rule, 180-degree angle rule, which means that your shutter speed has to be double that of your frame rate. So if we've got 25 frames per second, your shutter speed what am I talking about? Your shutter speed should be 1/50. If you have 24 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 48, 1/48. I'm going crazy today, right? Let me show you what a variable ND filter looks like, just so you can get a visual representation of what this Okay, and we're going to darken it, so limiting the amount of light getting in, and we're going to lighten it, so allowing more light in. And that is what an ND filter, a variable ND, looks like. It limits the amount of light. A polarizer, what's a polarizer for? Well, a polarizer will pop the blue in the sky. It will get rid of reflections on shiny surfaces, anything that's not metal, and it will get rid of reflections on water so you can see through it. That's pretty cool. You do have to dial it in though to get it perfectly right. Now, let me get my GoPro out here. The GoPro is a fantastic little camera, and using it with an ND filter allows you to achieve some beautiful cinematic results. However, using an ND filter will basically render the Hypersmooth useless, because Hypersmooth needs a lot of light for it to work correctly. I did recommend these filters by Freewell, about a month, 2 months ago, and they are fantastic. If you have them, you don't need to upgrade. They really are great. But Freewell did recently bring out the hybrid filters, which are stunning. They really are beautiful. And that's what I'm talking about. It has an ND and a polarizer on it, and that's what it looks. You've got a little dial that you turn. It's fantastic. So I get the Freewell sign, make sure it's at the top, stick it on, and twist, and it's really nice and tight. That is what it should look like, and it should be nice and snug on your camera. Now, outside it is snowing something crazy, so I'm not going to be able to pop the sky, but I can show you a few things inside. So for example, I have a reflective surface on the microwave there. Let's film this and show you what it looks like. Right. This is the microwave, and let's get, for example, my sign in there, and let's twist this around. Look at that, you can almost get rid of the sign. If the sign was off, it would actually be completely black. So you can get rid of the whole reflection. Let's see, something else here, my charging station. Let's get rid of that reflection right there. There you go, it's basically gone. And there we go. And it's completely dark, as you can see. The stabilization isn't working, but that is what it looks like, and that is how this works. If you're outside, it's great for those slow cinematic movements, so you get some natural motion blur. Natural motion blur is very important, because any film you've seen ever from Hollywood has natural motion blur, unless there is a specific I'm sorry, today's one of those days. A specific reason why it's being changed. So for example, we have 24 frames per second because we're in Hollywood, and you want to use a slower shutter speed like Man on Fire. I do love that film, but they used the slower shutter speed and they actually variated it, you know, whilst it was on. So you could, I think they were using an ARRI 2B or something similar, where you can change the shutter speed. And it gave some really funky effects, kind of dreamy, lighter, darker, you know, blowouts. It was cool. Or Saving Private Ryan, where they really cranked it up to get that kind of jittery, kind of really sharp movement when he was running down the beach, bullets flying everywhere. Those are artistic choices that the cinematographer makes when changing the shutter speed. But most of the time, if you want it nice, beautiful, cinematic, smooth, natural motion blur, double the frame rate, that's your shutter speed. So 1/50 for most people. These filters are great. They'll help you achieve that. You do have an ND8. You also have the ND16, 32, and 64. That's a great set. I rarely go below an 8. And if the 8 is a little bit dark, what I'll do is I'll crank the ISO a little bit, and that's more or less fine. If it gets really dark, I'll just take it off. But this is a set I highly recommend. Any questions at all, drop them in the comments below. Give me a like if you did like this, affiliate links below, and subscribe.